what I did is I went in, I joined for free, created all my videos, but I didn't publish them yet. And then I joined up for the biggest package with the HD videos, joined that, and they recently sent out a promotion offering I think it was 2 years to their highest package for $120. So I snapped that up. That's the same. So keeping a regular update, a regular eye on what they're doing, can save you more money too. So those videos don't take long to make. I'm going to show you another one in a minute, which took me less than 10 minutes to make, and you can see it's effective and gets to the point. The other thing is you can record your own voice. You've all got smartphones. Your own voice, if you don't want the American guy off Fiverr, upload it to the platform, and then make the video to the sound of your own voice. So another thing I wanted to talk to you today is, as Clinton mentioned, is Cure Kids. So my Rotaract Club are teaming up with eLearNZ, and we're looking to raise $5,000 for Cure Kids. And what I'd like to do now is play you the third video, which will explain a little bit about what we're trying to achieve. Less than 10 minutes to make that video. $5,000 for Cure Kids. So I'm part of the Botany Manukau Rotaract Club, and we're going to be joining in on their $10 Queenstown Challenge. So we've got to race down to Queenstown against other teams and try raise money for Cure Kids. So what we've done is we're doing a Facebook competition, and we've built a website, mummiesangel.org.nz, and we're going to be getting a Facebook competition with all the parents around New Zealand submitting photos of their little angels and getting votes and donating towards Cure Kids. So what we'd like to offer you the opportunity is to come on board as a sponsor. We're looking for people who want to donate between $250 to $500. If you do want to look at what you get in return, or if you want to know a little bit more about it, mummiesangel.org.nz, or else down on the Bloom stand, we've got a bowl. If you just put your business card in there, we'll give you a call back. But all the money's going towards a fantastic cause and to help little children around New Zealand who have life-threatening illnesses. So, thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Coron. Absolutely amazing what you packed into 12 minutes. It was incredible, and for virtually nothing, so that was good. And also, I might add, good to see a good young bloke involved in Rotaract. Not a lot of young people in that organisation from my observation, so good to see what you're doing and great initiatives as well. So, and awesome to see what you can do with a bit of initiative, so well done and all the best in your business. Okay, our third presenter this morning is also as a result of a man down, and that's Phil Gehring from Synapsis, is still not able to be with us. However, we do have a very, very worthy substitute today from Synapsis, who is Lorna Hayward, who will also be talking to us a little bit later on as well. But Lorna has been with Synapsis for 18 months. She's a project manager there, a senior educational designer and consultant. She's been 22 years in learning and development. She was formerly an accountant before she saw the light spent a bit of time in rehab, and was able to get back into mainstream society as in L&D. So the other thing too with Lorna is that you need to be a little bit careful as well, because there seems to be a developing trend with our presenters, and that Lorna is also in Taekwondo. So she said that as a mid-level achievement, and she did run a club with her husband in the South Island. Her husband is a second Dan black belt, so together they're lethal, and I'd just like to say let's respect Lorna and welcome her warmly, please. While Lorna comes to the front, I will say to you that she is talking about a cloud-based learning evaluation tool. Lorna Hayward.
Thanks. Hello. Can I just say that my mid-level belt only makes me semi-lethal, and my husband's not here, so everyone's perfectly safe, obviously. So, yeah, as has been said, I'm actually going to talk about something called the evaluator. I'm going to try and avoid sounding like Arnold Schwarzenegger, because every time I say that, I think of Terminator, and I'm also not going to be saying I'll be back too often, okay? Although I will be back later. So one of the things that Anna, in her fantastic talk yesterday, talked about with evaluation is that when you talk to people that have been on the training intervention, what they often come back with, and maybe it's a bit of a cliche, is, yeah, it was great lunch, the room was a bit stuffy, I managed to stay awake through the session. But when we're looking at training interventions, and certainly one of the gentlemen sitting over that side yesterday was talking about, if you're investing a lot of money into putting together a training intervention, you want to know that you're going to get some return on that investment. You want to know that it's actually going to make a difference to your organisation, and you want to know that it's going to be sustainable and that it's going to have an impact going forward, and that, well, positive impact, I would say. So we've worked with a partner to create something called the evaluator. So it's a really simple tool, as it says there. It's actually, as I've said, it's about providing clarity on interventions and how they can be improved. It's also about enabling you to correct rich data. And Nigel yesterday was talking very much about big data and the importance of having good data to enable you to make good decisions about learning investment and about developing your team and your business, your organisation. So the evaluator is designed to enable you about learning and development investment. It also enables you to actually look at the key drivers around the uptake of learning. So if you're putting together an online module, you may be concerned about why not so many people are actually going into that module or using it, why you're not getting the uptake from your internal clients about it. So the evaluator allows you to gather good information to actually look at why that's happening and make some decisions about how you take that training forward. And it's also about looking at, and I'm very big on this, it's actually about sustainable change. You work in the industry, and it was fantastic yesterday hearing people being so passionate about, is it having an impact on the organization? Is it sustainable? Is it making a difference? So this is about gathering information to enable you to look at whether it is making a sustainable change, making a real difference. So normally, when we look at training evaluation, when we look at gathering information, we simply look at information from the learner. As I say, there is that cliched, was the lunch good? But the evaluator enables you to look beyond that. So there's 4 key groups, or key stakeholders that enables you to actually gather information from. The learner themselves, their line manager. So this is where we start to look at the change in behaviour and the impact of the training and when they go back into the workplace. You've also got the facilitator themselves who are able to actually talk about their view of the learner and what happened during the course or the intervention, if you're talking about a face-to-face or blending learning intervention. And then it's the learning administrator. So they're able to give another dimension to actually comment or view how that learning has gone, how that training's gone, and also comment upon, if it's an e-learning piece, how that's actually been received and what the uptake was and any feedback or comments that they may have had. So it focused on the key drivers for learning, for understanding learning effectiveness. And as I say, it's developed from our experience of working with a number of organisations over the last few years. Referring back to what Anna talked about yesterday, it's built on the Kirkpatrick model. So we all had a lot of fun, and I got slightly confused being up the back when a load of people came towards me. I thought I should join. Talking about these stages of Kirkpatrick, from how was it for you, through to has there been some impact in the organisation, but then takes it a step beyond that around, is this a sustainable learning intervention? So the number of dimensions, the elements that are involved in what it reviews, to look at those 5 stages and enables you to pick up feedback and information on how effective it's been. So as I said, just to come back and clarify, to add a few things there, it is cloud-based, so it's accessible through the internet. So that makes it a lot easier. You haven't got 75, or maybe a slight exaggeration there, evaluation pieces of paper that you've got to work your way through that can get quite tedious to try and pick up on, is there any valuable information in there? So it's very easy to it produces its own reports. You can tailor it to a large degree to what information you want to get out of there. It's also real time, so every time you get a response back to the questionnaires that you send out to the participants and the various other stakeholders, it's aggregated into the existing information. So it's current information that you can get and get feedback as to what's going on with that intervention. I don't know about you, but I personally don't like looking at a lot of columns and columns of information. I'm quite visual, so you get visual information, which I'm going to show you in a minute, so you can actually see visually what's gone on with that. So that enables you, the dimensions that it covers, the information, gives you improved depth of analysis, as it says. And the other thing, which was today, anonymity. So every person that responds to the questionnaire that's produced has a unique ID. So that it gives people more freedom to answer more honestly, give more open information back as to what they feel about the intervention. And it also, and this is another key point around actually looking at organisational impact, enables you to ask questions about the intervention over a period of time. So there's the yes straight after they've gone through it. You maybe want to do it if you're looking at a management, leadership or coaching program 3 months later to see if there's been changes to their behaviours, 6 months, 12 months. So you can see stages of development in the individual, and also gives you a chance to make changes to that training over a period of time as well, as you see the impact that it's having, as you see the change in behaviours. And as I say, it's easy to use. Okay. So there's 3 dimensions that it actually covers. Sustainability, the learning experience, what was it like for them on the day, and also, and this is where the line managers come in, whether there's been behavioural change, whether you can actually see somebody changing their habits when they get back into work, whether the learning they've undertaken actually is changing the way they do their job. And then you can look at how that therefore impacts on or had a change on their results. So as Anna was talking about yesterday, it's great because you're actually looking at those series of events and how they interact with each other. Outside of those, we can also add further dimensions as well. So you're looking at organisational impact, that bigger picture piece. Also as well, and this is referring back to that coaching, learning, development. If you're going through coaching with a facilitator, how's that for you? Have you been able to take it on board? Has it had an impact on you? And that leads into that changing behaviours over a period of time for you to be able to give feedback on it. I know you can't see that bottom part very well there. So it enables you to get a really rounded review because you've got a number of the different dimensions I talked about before. Okay, So the dimensions of sustainability, the learning experience, behavioural change, all of which are made up of a number of elements. So we've got the learning environment, facilities, the information that you actually got from the facilitator, various things in there, the ingredients that make up that learning experience. You're also able, as I say, to gain a view of the impact of the learning on the learners. And I've actually asked a question about this. So those of you that actually deliver training or are thinking about investing money in delivering training, what's your view on how that training should actually change people? What are you looking for from training intervention? What do you want to happen from that training intervention? So what does that behavioural change normally lead to? You hope. Yeah. So if we're looking for behavioural change, if we only ask a question the day after they've done the training, how do you know? Your psychic powers, and I do realise that a lot of people that work in L&D roles, like HR, have psychic powers. And you can see through the fog of what's happening now, and you're often called on to be able to actually advise on what's going to happen 12 months down the road, because you do have those psychic powers. But actually, increasingly, what businesses, what organisations need to make decisions on is fact-based decision-making, don't they? So they want rich data, they want that information. So just simply getting the learner's response on the day or just after they've undertaken that training is not sufficient. If you're thinking about investing 10,000, 20,000, 100,000, 250,000 in a long-term program that you want to create change, that you want behaviours to change. So being able to actually tailor, as we can with the evaluator, the dimensions that you look at, being able to change questions that you ask. So for the individual, you'll ask the learner, how did the course work for you? You could ask them, did you be able to actually take the learning back into the workplace? That would be a favourite question to ask. The manager, you'll ask that manager, have you seen the learner be able to transfer the course to the workplace? Have you seen that transfer? The facilitator, you can ask, on the day of the course, could you see that the individual was uptaking the information? And do you feel that they will be able to take it back into the workplace? You've got a number of ways that you can ask one question, but you're getting a number of different views of that. So the main tool, or the main part of the evaluation tool that we have to enable people to get a feel for what's going on with it is the polar map. We're not talking about scotting the Antarctic, obviously. We're actually talking about something which, and I'm sure, have people seen polar maps like this before? It's a relatively familiar tool. But it enables you to actually get a really good, strong bird's eye view of the course, the effect of the intervention, people's feelings about it. But what it also does, if you're trying to make an argument or trying to actually have a conversation with an operational manager around this is why I think you should actually carry on this training, if you're running a pilot or whatever it is, and then you're having a conversation with them about, yeah, I think we should go ahead with this, or these are the things that we could change with it, actually taking them through, reading the polar map, looking at the median point, the middle positioning of people's responses or feelings about that, where that, if you're looking at it as a change curve or a curve, where the centre of that curve is. Looking at it visually enables you to actually very easily have those conversations and make those comparisons. So here we're looking at feedback from a learner, from a line manager, and from a facilitator about a particular training intervention. If we look at those combined results, now, looking at this, you're looking at the 5 different areas there: sustainability, learning experience, learning, the behavioural change, and the organisational impact. Apart from the fact that it's actually quite a nice rainbow of colours, which I always think is quite pleasing for the eye. Not everyone necessarily is bothered about that. But anyway, it's gentle on the eye. But you can see where the median points are. There's a dark line in the centre which actually shows you the middle points. You can see where things have actually worked out pretty well with the training because motivation is the edge. So it enables you to actually around, okay, what about the course do we need to change? Do we need to change some content? Do we need to change delivery style? Do we need to bring somebody else in from the operational team that could provide better commentary that enables the learner to actually apply it more effectively to their workplace? So just to sum up, you've got, as I said, normally we would put in a range of 11 different elements to ask questions. What we also will put in is give you the opportunity to open-ended questions, so that over a period of time you can gather some really good information about the course, the intervention, to actually check out what's going on. So ask really in-depth questions about a particular department or a particular region within your organisation, and get more localised information and get a free response to that, free narrative to that. What it also means is that if you are looking at people's development or the course's development over a period of time, ask questions that are relevant at that point in their development. So you will change your open questions for the start. 6 months on, you want to know something different. You want to know more about how they need to change, how they're developing, or whether you bring another intervention in. It's also about being able to actually look at things visually. So that the polar chart, as I was talking about there, enables you to actually look at things in a very visual manner. But at the side of it, as you can see, you've actually also got well, what's an area for development, whether managers had a more positive response to how the behaviours changed, how the learner felt about it, or how the facilitator felt about it. So you can do comparison between the different key stakeholders really well. What this then enables you to do, finally, is actually develop your action plan for the training intervention. How do we want to change it? How do we want to take it forward? Are we going to widen it out within the organisation? Are we going to bring more groups into it? Or are we going to, if we're doing a management training course, are we going to adapt it so we're actually taking it forward for our frontline supervisors? Having rich data enables you to make those decisions, enables you to actually look at the investment you're planning on making the rest of this year, 3 years, 5 years, and start to tailor that investment more effectively. And having those interesting conversations that you will normally have with your CFO about further development, whether it's worth spending that money. So, has anyone got any questions that they want to ask me? Yep. No, it's actually an in-house tool for us. So I'm more than happy to actually provide you information. If you want to give me your email address, I can send some stuff through to you, or we can have a Skype catch-up about it. Whatever works for you. Anything else? Yeah.
So just then, how do you sort of license it? Do you get the tool? Do you work with you with the tool?
So what we can do, what we normally do, there will be 3 stages that we normally go through for a client. We can actually include you in a pilot process so that there's minimum cost with that, hundreds of dollars if that. If you want a basic instance setup, so you've got a little bit of tailoring around your organisation and it's badged internally, so it wouldn't be badged for Synapsis, it will be badged for IAG or Blood Service. Sorry, my mind's now gone totally blank on organisational names. Lots of organisations, so you'd have it badged for your organisation. So a little bit of tailoring, you'd have those basic dimensions, and we do a bit of tailoring around the questions. And we also train you, so you're able to administer it yourself, so you're able to actually produce the reports for yourselves, so you're able to table it, as I say, over a course of a few months. Then the next step up, I'll call it, should we call it platinum, since we've got silver, gold, and platinum sponsors for the event. So your platinum would be really having a tailored event, but you are in control of it. We would be there, but you as the organisation, it's your event, it's your evaluator. Any more questions? Now, I'll go back to what was said yesterday. It depends. It's actually, what I would say, you're not talking tens of thousands of dollars. You're talking well below that. No, not really. There's a lot of really good, bigger and would be pitched at large corporates. Design this is that we can develop it for relatively small teams or relatively small and medium-sized companies as well. So that would also equate to the level of size of evaluator instant that you want set up. It's tailorable, yeah. File via CSV files. So there's a certain level of manual, but if you want us to actually help you with that, then we can help you with that. The beauty of it is it enables you to very simply, I'm going to have to get off this stage fairly soon, but the beauty is that you can gather a large amount of really useful information in a relatively easy way over a period of time without having to go through, as I say, 75 or 100 different evaluation bits of paper, when the main thing is they've talked about the lunch, which I'm sure is really interesting and useful to know, clearly. Anything else before I'm thrown off the stage? That's all right. But I'm back there if you want to ask me any more questions. More than happy to answer anything. Okay, I shall now leave.
Thanks very much, Lorna. Awesome stuff. Okay, so the next session is an interactive session with Elliot Maisie, and he'll pop up shortly on the screen. That's not him, that's me. But he will be beamed in from New York fairly shortly, but... Aha, he's with us now. Okay, so I'll do an intro for Elliot, and what Beryl has said is that Elliot will take questions towards the end of his address, and we won't be able to take any questions unless you've got the microphone on you. So welcome Elliot Maisie. He's the host and facilitator of Learning 2015. He is a provocative, engaging and entertaining researcher. There's a lot of bio on him. This guy is a rock star. Let's make the most of the time that we have with him. Welcome, Elliot.
Hello there. Hello there. It's wonderful to be with you. I was in New Zealand about a year ago, and it's fun to be able to be with you and still be here in Saratoga Springs, New York. I'm coming to you from the Maisie Center Lab, and it is just, I know many of my colleagues are there. I think you've got a Nigel Payne in a box somewhere. Is he hiding somewhere there? Can you point, if you see Nigel, would you point to him so I can this? Oh, okay. So we often put Nigel in a room by himself, but let me take a few minutes to share with you a topic which, when we talked about me presenting, I thought would be an interesting one. And I'm going to be very honest that I'm not selling anything. I have no products. I don't want you to replace your LMS or buy a whole new system or hire me as a consultant. I want to share with you a pain. Our learners are overwhelmed. Our learners are overwhelmed. In fact, I would guess that many of you as a learner are overwhelmed. Now, what are you overwhelmed with? So let's do a quick poll here. How many of you get more things in the email to read than you have time to read? Oh, almost all the hands are up there. Okay. How many of you have you ever been on a webinar and realize you don't really have the hour for the webinar, so you'll log on to the webinar, but at the same time, you'll check your email, eat your lunch, and make a phone call to a member of your family. Okay, how many of you have done that? And I will be honest, I've led webinars and I've been eating my lunch while leading the webinar. We believe that this is the best of times and it's the worst of times for the learner. It's the best of times because never before have we had so much stuff that didn't just come from headquarters. So how many of you have watched a TED video in the last 2 years? By a show of hands. Okay, in the room. And I've had the honor to make some TED videos. And it's amazing. You know, I made a TED video at a TEDx, and there were about 500 people in the room. But, you know, hundreds of thousands will watch it afterwards. But my one little TED video is one of many TED videos. So we're overwhelmed. Which TED video do we watch? How many of you at home have clicked on a TV show that you watch on demand? Okay. So a good friend of mine, I don't know if it's playing in New Zealand, a friend of mine, Uzo Aduba, is the star of Orange is the New Black. Okay. Now, what's interesting about Orange is the New Black is nobody watches it one show a week for 10 weeks or 13 weeks. How many of you have done marathon or binge watching on a show? Okay, hands go up. Now, what I'm getting at is our learners are us. We are our learners. And our problem is that never before have we had as many choices of things to read, things to watch, things to dial into, things to connect with, websites to visit. And the problem is the learner is overwhelmed because they don't know which ones to do now and which ones to not do now. I want a new button on all of my web browsers called Later. I want to be able to watch, get to something, and go click on it, and I make it later. What I want to not argue, but plead with you is that we have to help our learners with all the stuff. Now, I'll give you a word that's used, and I use it. I don't know if it's the best word. I don't know what it means in New Zealand, okay? Curate. I try to be a curator. Now, what's it mean to be a curator? It means that part of my job is to take many, 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 many pieces of content and organize it so I or other people can have better choices that they make of that. Now, sometimes the way you curate is you vote. So have you ever started to go to a restaurant and then you have pulled out your phone and you've looked at the comments and it says, don't eat here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And you drive away. You don't want to eat. It's curation, because what you're doing, you're using some information to order, decide, rank order your content. And one of the major challenges that we have is that not only the learning and development department, but everybody in the world is saying to your learner, here's something to read, here's something to watch, here's something to play with. And we are only getting started. We're just at the beginning. Let me share with you a couple of technologies that are sort of coming out, okay? So this one arrived an hour ago, okay? And what that is, it's not, I have my Apple Watch, which I'm still not sure why I'm wearing it, but that's a whole other event that we could do. But this is an iBeacon watch. I got it an hour ago, so I haven't had a chance to try it out yet. But at our big conference that we do in Orlando in November, I'm going to go to Nigel and a few other people, and I'm going to put this beacon on his wrist. Now, I may just put it on optionally so he can take it off, or there's a little flame that would like weld it so he couldn't get it off, okay? And everybody in our conference is going to have on their phone the ability to find Nigel and other people on a radar screen. Oop, 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 here's close. Oh, there's Nigel. And they could ask him a question, annoy him, take a picture of him with Steve Wozniak digitally imposed on there, or they could decide, I want to use Nigel as an expert. Now, why am I talking about this with curation? Because increasingly, we don't just want to curate content, we want to curate people. So how many of you are on a big social media network like, you know, Jive or Yammer or SharePoint or the like, okay? And, or you might be on Facebook or LinkedIn, you know. We have to curate that. Like if I had my one druthers and I work closely with Facebook, I would not allow them to use the word friend. I have a lot of people I am connected to on Facebook, but they're not friends. If I get hurt, please don't call them for help, okay? You know, Nigel and I are very involved in a PhD program, but I never call the people who graduate from that program doctors, because if my arm hurts, I don't want them going to that learning PhD person along the way. In other words, I'm always going to be curating people along the way. And curation is going to be a significant and major thing in the future. Our learning management systems are going to have to start to do curation. And I think some of the curation will even be auditory curation. So how many of you use Siri? Okay, any folks who use Siri on their iPhone? Okay, how many of you use any other form of a technology like from Android or the like? So let me show you a little thing. I'm going to expand out my I'll go the other direction. There we go. I'm going to expand out my video camera here. Okay, so over here, I've got a little device, brand new from Amazon, okay? And its name is Echo, and I get to talk to Echo. So listen for a moment. Alexa, what's the weather in New Zealand?
Which city in New Zealand?
Which city do you want to hear?
Sorry, I couldn't find weather for the location I heard.
There is no sorry New Zealand, apparently. So, you know. Okay. Alexa, what's the weather for Auckland, New Zealand?
Currently, in Auckland, New Zealand, it's 43 degrees with fog. Today, you can expect mostly sunny weather with a high of 57 and a low of 42.
Alexa, tell them a joke.
How many therapists does it take to change a light bulb? Only one, but the light bulb has to want to change.
Alexa, play Kinky Boots.
You'd like to play the album Kinky Boots, right?
Yes.
Songs from Kinky Boots by original Broadway cast recording.
Alexa, stop. Now, the reason I say Kinky Boots, I happen to be one of the producers of Kinky Boots, that, by the way, is going to be coming to Australia fairly soon. So it's a Broadway show that I produce. So I was just putting a little, not plug in there, but it's fun there. But we're going to have to curate the things we talk to. Our phone, our little devices in the air. Now, I have a friend. Have you ever read any books by my friend Marshall Goldsmith? Marshall is a wonderful management coach. Marshall believes the worst thing that managers can say is the word no. So when I introduced him to my Amazon Echo, he wanted to know if it could measure how often managers say no. You know, so it could come back and say, you said no 40 times today, and then maybe hurt him a little bit, or, you know, or do something along those lines. But we are going to be in an environment where we are curating content, curating people, curating advice, and the more. And so if I were to give you one thing to play with, it would be that. Now I want to bounce back. I know you have some questions, or maybe you have some questions about me. We could even talk about my disappointment, but enthusiasm as the disappointment for my Apple Watch. Any trends about learning trends that you have? So what are a question or two?
Hi there, nice to meet you. I'm Jacinta, and I was wondering if you would recommend any particular content curation softwares, like cloud softwares, because I've been trying them all, and they're either free and not quite good enough, or super expensive and great.
I'm sorry, the bandwidth broke. Just say it one more time for me. I'm sorry, it chopped up as the voice was coming across.
What content curation software would you recommend?
I won't give you a piece of advice on that. I am fiercely vendor neutral. I happen to believe that the value is not in the software and is not in the technology. I think that ultimately the value is how we build a methodology around software. But over my 43 years in the field, I never recommend or advise on a specific software product. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Does anyone
Stock tips? Anything?
anyone have something about? Oh, there we are.
Very
I'd like
good
to
camera.
know.
It goes everywhere.
I'd like to know
Yeah.
what's your biggest disappointment with the Apple Watch?
I think the Apple Watch came out too soon. I've been an Apple fanatic from way back when they did even earlier tablets than were out. And I've known every one of the Macs. And Steve Wozniak is one of my keynote speakers this year at Learning 2015. This watch did not have an oh crap, oh my app on it. Every other piece of that technology has been an oh my, oh crap. Oh my, I can do the web from that. Oh crap, now, you know, I don't have to like say I can't go online. My life changed with each Apple technology I've had. The only thing that's changed for this is that I have to carry a backup watch with me now when the battery goes out. When I give a speech, it won't stay on, so I go too long. And I produce Broadway shows, and when I clap, it lights up and it annoys the actors on the stage. So it's really cool. It's amazingly overpriced. The $10,000 watch is the same watch as mine for $299 with an overpriced band on it. You know, I think Apple got stupid and greedy. Stupid and greedy. Now, there's some really good uses for it. I imagine you would be a diabetic and you could use it for health purposes. I'm quite interested in how it could be used for a new hire for an orientation. But in version 1, it is always linked to my iPhone, so it really is a miniaturization of the screen. And I will tell you, it hasn't made my life better by 1/100% yet. But I'm curious, so I will be wearing it to September 30th, okay? But I do carry a backup watch. Never in my life have I needed a backup watch. It's like a backup pair of socks that you would carry. So I don't quite get that, so. What's the weather there, by the way, you know?
The weather is absolutely beautiful, but it's always like that in New Zealand anyway. So you must come here one day. No, my question.
I will tell you, I'm very impressed with New Zealand, other than your ability to monitor speeding cars and get tickets by mail later on. So I was doing a little test while driving, and I got a ticket in the mail. But other than that, I had a delightful experience.
That's great. My question to you is, can you give us an example of a learning intervention that you know of that happened recently that involved curation rather than something else?
I will give you a great example. Historically, if you taught a leadership program, you gave the students in the program a few books, maybe a list of resources, a handout. I taught leadership for 40 years. People used to consume that. They used to take it and go, wow, I can't get home to read all of this. Now they leave it on the table. Why? Because it's just a pile of content uncurated. So in a leadership program that's taught now with Columbia University in New York, what they will do is they will say, okay, there's a lot of really good stuff out there. Each person here will have the job of curating 2 things on a key topic, abstract them, and then the group is going to do some crowd voting on the 4 or 5 things that they would suggest that people read or watch. I'm even interested, and there's some interesting work going on now at Facebook and over at LinkedIn, of how we link our backgrounds and competencies to a curation process. So if they know that I'm interested in X, can I then go and curate around that? So that's basically one of the things. Those would be some examples of that. Bluntly, even if you're going to the event you're at right now, somebody will need to curate out of all the things that have been said by different people. How do you pull it together? How do you rank order it? How do you help somebody get to just the right thing along the way? I will tell you, I met an 82-year-old reader, and she described herself as a reader on an airplane. And she does something wonderful for me now. She sends me one article every 2 weeks that I must read. I've outsourced curation of that to her. And everyone has been wonderful. And I asked her, do you want me to send back to you? She goes, no, at 82, I don't need more. So she's like been but she's an interesting example of that. But we are just figuring out the tools and the methodology. And I actually think, as learning development people, we've always been in charge of content for our learners. Our learners are in charge of their own content increasingly. Let's give them the tools and the framework in which they can do some curation within that.
Hello,
I'm
Elliot.
getting
How
dizzy.
are you? Elliot.
Wonderful.
Elliot, you mentioned LinkedIn, and you, as we all know, LinkedIn, the big greedy mob, is now the biggest learning platform of all time. What, in your view, will be the impact of that in respect to how LinkedIn will use Linda, and for that matter, how will Linda use the LinkedIn data?
My bet, and I have no secret information on this, although you're right, everybody in our field has talked about it. My bet is that LinkedIn will probably make at least 2 more major acquisitions. I think that LinkedIn believes that they can create not only an environment in which we share our resumes or interest or competencies, but where they can then suggest, prescribe, or offer for free or advertiser-supported content around that. It's a big number they paid, but in the world of LinkedIn, it's not a huge number. I would suggest that they also will probably along the way acquire a certification organization where you look at sort of badging certification elements that aren't given out by a higher ed institution or by your employer, but travel with that. I'm intrigued by it. I like to see when, when big companies buy good ideas. Like, I can't wait to see what Facebook does with Oculus, the virtual reality piece there. But LinkedIn has not said what they're doing with it yet. But I was there the day that Cisco bought WebEx, and it was it was a $3 billion buy. And WebEx has actually continued to be a product that Cisco uses and values, and nobody would ever thought it'd be a $3 billion purchase.
Oh, great. If we get better and better at curation and use all the software all the time, is there a risk that we just become, because we all seem to follow many of the same people, so we're all kind of becoming an homogenous sort of blob, and does it mean that we won't be exposed to new and novel ideas, and we might just end up with these huge big mountains of people who all think the same way about the same thing and follow the same people, and just, is that a risk? And if so, how
I love what you're saying, and I fully support it. Curation is not about a democratic vote of the best. It's to get the blend that we want. So let me give you a good example. I love reading or watching. I have about 5 people who are management thinkers. I violently disagree with these 5, but I love reading their stuff. So my curation does not include just things I like or things that everybody likes. It is to build a model. I even think we have a problem. That's why I don't like the word friend. Several people who are my friends on Facebook, I hate. I really do hate them. But I find it interesting to be connected to a few people I hate. It adds texture to my life. So that's why I want to get rid of the word friend. But I'm not suggesting that we vote for the 5 best and everybody does that. I actually think in curation we have the ability to take a great art. I'll give you an interesting one. My friend Marshall Goldsmith wrote a book called Trigger. And I loved the book. And somebody else read it and really didn't like it. And I really enjoyed reading their dislike for a book that I have great affection for. So curation is not to slice out or to become homogeneous. In fact, I think as a global society, to be better at finding people who are objectors, disruptors, extenders. I, in fact, love sometimes to say, could we invite so-and-so to a meeting? Because they'll really be quite disruptive. And I like that. Now, not everyone would, but if you looked at my Myers-Briggs, there's probably a 5th letter saying likes disruption, So I think that's part of what we could do with that. So I don't know where we are on your time. I don't want to extend into the next session, but I'm all yours. So
Elliot, time is up, and we appreciate your time, and we will let you go now. International learning guru, Elliot Maisie.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Awesome stuff. Could have kept that going forever. Really great work and hanging off every word, and he seemed to have sorted Nigel out pretty accurately, didn't he? In fact, if you had seen Admiral Nigel Payne last evening with Pirate Con, you would have had some serious doubts. Moving on now, we have a break, and before we break, there's been some startling information come to light about the competitions, and I think it's only fair to share that with you. Please, Beryl.
Okay, it's almost confession time, but don't worry. We're still giving away 3 iPads, but I'll tell you what's happening. We were going to give away 2 iPads to people who filled out the evaluation forms, right? From a draw. So you have to complete the whole form up until the time we announce the draw to be eligible. That's fine. We were reasonably clear on that. We are going to give an iPad for the best photo competition. We were going to give, and this will still happen, a free, what does it say on the thing? See why I'm confused? A team assessment using the Talent Dynamics Business Development Pathway to some who got all the zap codes right. But on the zap code flyer, it makes it sound like we're giving away an iPad for that too. But that would be 4 iPads, and I've only got 3. So I've been freaking out this morning, and then I decided what to do. I had a look on Twitter to start looking at the photos, and there are a few cool photos on there, but there aren't very many, and I don't think people have really sent very many photos in. If you have a look at hashtag eLearNZ, you know, there's a few fun things there, but there's nothing, forgive me if you posted a photo, but there's nothing that looks like a fantastic competition winner, and even if there was, I like the one I'm in, by the way, but even if there was, I can't choose myself, and there aren't very many pictures. So I'm proposing that we scrap the photo iPad, and we have 2 iPads for the event, as previously stated, and 1 for the zap code. If anybody objects to that, put your hand up, and I'll come and give you some therapy. Because I need some. Is that okay? Thank you.
Well done. Thanks for that, Beryl, and that's likely to change again by lunchtime. Anyway, so keep a lookout. You're bound to qualify for a prize at some stage of the day. Don't forget our sponsors. We have a break now through until 10:30, so visit our sponsor stands, have a chat to them about the presentations, and just also opportunity, Knox board, look at the illustrations up there, persevere with the apps, enjoy your morning tea. See you back here at 10:30. Got a couple of things to do. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Hope you had a good break. To share with you, if I would, or I could, or I may, any of those of you that didn't or weren't able to attend the dinner last evening wouldn't have been aware of the 2015 eLearning Awards and the recipients of those. The overall winner was Optimism, with a program that they did for a Day Skipper Award. The runner-up was Ko Awatea for a program they put together for South Auckland Health. And the highly commended was Ross, with a program that they put together and designed and put together as well. So please help me welcome. Congratulate them. Right, a bit of housekeeping. We are aiming to finish on midday, which of course is cannon time. So remember the cannon. It was indeed a loud cannon yesterday, so be ready for it because it could be quite a shock if you're not. So look out. The presentation is using social media learning. Our presenter is and Con is, as I say, a likeable Australian. He has a business called LearnCoach Consulting. He's a senior learning and performance professional. He was also a qualified accountant in a former life who saw the light. But he saw the light in an interesting way. He spent 30 years with the equivalent of the IRD here in New Zealand in Australia. And part of his involvement with the Australian Inland Revenue involved him or saw him interviewing criminals in jail, big-time criminals, and who had evaded tax for a long, long time and laundered money and so on. Con saw the light when his family became threatened as a result of interviewing these convicts and lowlifes. So Con got into L&D pretty smartly after those threats, so quite amazing. And Con was actually awarded in 2000 an Australia Day medal for to the Australian public sector. Such was his contribution to that part of his life. His team has also won a number of a race between tens of thousands, cheer whatever it was on, and they are passionate about their sport. In fact, I was party to a conversation last evening between Nigel Payne and Con about the Ashes cricket series, which is a bit black and white at the moment, given that they've both thrashed the hell out of each other in the first two tests. And it was interesting to hear the perspective from the Englishman and the Australian last evening. But Con is also a very passionate Collingwood AFL supporter. The Magpies are sitting mid-table. They're on the end. They're on the end of a 4-game losing streak, and the playoff is looking distant. But Con is confident that this young team will get up probably next year, not this year, but a passionate man, a passionate sports lover, and a passionate learning and development professional. Please help me welcome Con Sotidis.
Thanks, Mike. Hello, New Zealand. Really, thank you very much for welcoming me here to be part of eLearNZ. Is that the way we say it? Yeah, eLearNZ. Look, Clinton summed it up pretty much about what I am, who I am, my background, 30 years public sector experience. So the comments yesterday about the issues confronting public sector, I've been there, I feel your pain. I know what it's like to have to put a request for proposals and tenders and have to go through evaluations, have to submit it up the line, have to justify everything. So been there, done all that, and it's, yeah, look, for those who've not in public sector, it is a different culture, it's a different environment, and it's a challenging environment. So been there, done that, but after a number of years, and it wasn't because of the criminals were probably earlier on, after a number of years, our dear Prime Minister decided to downsize the public service, and I thought, why not take the opportunity to move on and do something different? So I decided to go out and do some of my own consultancy. Given I had done 15 years of strategic L&D, I thought it was a good opportunity to get out there. But what I really am passionate about and what I really enjoy about the roles that I've done and what I do is social media. I think for me, social media has been an eye-opener. To me, it's been sort of changed my whole life in respect to my professional life and also my social life. A bit of football stuff comes in, sporting life comes in respect to tweeting and all that. But from a professional perspective, it's changed my life. But what I'm sort of a bit disappointed about is that as a profession, we're not embracing social media. I go to various conferences. I went to the RE conference last year, a couple of thousand delegates. RE is, by the way, the Australian Human Resource Institute. A couple of thousand delegates. It's only about 10, 15 people tweeting. And I thought, we're just not embracing it enough. What is it? Is it the fear? Is it the unknown? Is it, where do I, what is it? I just think that we probably need to embrace it. We're going to be in organisations influencing others as to what they should be doing. We need to be part of that environment. We need to be part of that ecosystem so that way we can also influence the organisation. So my challenge to you today, and by the end of it hopefully, is that you feel confident enough to get out there, you feel confident to get on those social media networks and be able to embrace them and sort of see what they can offer you as an individual, but also what they can offer you as part of the organisation. Okay, so we look at the classic definition of social media, the Wikipedia one. We can sort of read that till the cows come home, but I like a simple definitions. And I actually did a bit of a Wordle. If you've ever seen a Wordle, they're really, really useful. And did a bit of a Wordle on social media, and that's what sort of came up. So what strikes you, Wordle? Anything particular that sort of strikes you about that Wordle about social media? What sort of stands out? Facebook, yep. Social, yep. It's a lot of words, yep. Well, for me, what stands out in that is there's a lot of focus on the platforms, Twitter, Facebook, the media. There's not being social media, and the social stuff we're not really concerned about much. But for me, the social stuff is the most powerful aspect of social media. And I'll give you a story about that. I was on Twitter for about a couple of years. I had a couple of people that were following me, not many, probably a couple of hundred. And I'm on a plane coming on back to Melbourne, and the plane's taxiing to the runway, and the pilot goes, okay, you can now take out your phones, access your whatever you want to do, you call your cabbie, do whatever you want. So I usually access my Twitter feed. As I'm getting my bag down, I'm accessing my Twitter. The guy next to me is, I see him sort of from my corner of my eye, he's and he sees me, and I thought to myself, first my reaction is, geez, what's he doing now, snooping? Now this is very unsociable. And then he taps me on the shoulder, he said, you're not eLearNZ, are you? I said, sorry? He goes, you're eLearNZ. I go, yeah, that's me. He goes, mate, you all over social media. He goes, I follow you. I said, really, who are you? And I looked him up, he goes, he was following me. But that for me hit home about the number of people that were out there that either following you or watching what you're doing. It's an amazing thing. For this guy to just tap me on the shoulder out of the blue, it just made me realise that social media is a very powerful tool and it can be used in a lot of ways. I found this really good resource, and the links are going to be on the presentation so you can actually get into that. And what I liked about this is they really summed up social media very simple. It's a medium, the umbrella term that includes web-based and mobile technologies. It turns communication into interactive dialogue with pictures, videos. But for me, the most important part is that it involves user-generated content. We underestimate the power of user-generated content, whether it be in social media, whether it be in any learning intervention. User-generated content is the most powerful, the most rich source you can have in any organisation. Like Ali had said, you can read X blogs, you can look at this person, that person. It's only when the users get involved in rating, in discussing that particular content where you start to get some of that interaction, that rich interaction happening. Excuse me. Okay, a bit of a history on social media. Not going to spend too much time on this, but it's key to see that we've got around 2006 is when Twitter came around, 2004 Facebook. We're talking about QR codes. I don't know who we were talking about the other day with QR codes around 2010, but somehow it hasn't taken off, QR codes. I don't know what you guys think, but it just hasn't taken off. They were supposed to support us and help us in a lot of ways. Don't know why. We could probably sit here and talk about that in 10, 12 years. Fresh variety of ways. YouTube video, it's about a couple. You probably listen more the updated one, and I think about what's happening out there.
Right here, right now, 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 right here, right now.
Sorry, it was a bit choppy there, don't know what happened there, but... So what stood out there for you in that video? Sorry, come... Thank you, ma'am. You can have a book. Courtesy of my friend People Alchemy, he's got some really good nifty books. I hope you enjoy this one. Yes, that's true. It's so big. It's just so powerful out there, isn't it? It's just amazing. But for me, at the end, was an important part, which I'll talk about soon too. It's about the brand. Brand is very important on social media. In the Australia recently tweeted something about the Anzacs. His career's finished. He's gone. And then the comment came out. It said, "You're only one tweet away from destroying your career." So brand is very important. We'll talk about that soon. The other thing that they probably didn't cover there was because he talked about moving away from the 4 C's and talking about using the 4 C's of digital, which is creating, curating, connecting, and culture. That's what social media is all about. And Alia talked about the curating part. Moving right along. Boys, not working. Matt? No. No. Nigel, guys, the back, it's not moving. He's working on it, okay. Okay. Well, let's revert to the paper notes. Okay, the thing about social media is there's a lot of myths around social media. And what I was going to talk to you is about, there's a really good book that's come out recently by Gemma Roycroft and Tim Scott in the UK. And it's, where are we? One more. Sorry about this. Jesus, gone back to the beginning. Ah, here we are. That's the one. So, and what they did is, this is a really good book. So, if you haven't read this, a bit like Elliot, you know, but I've read this book and it's really good. It really puts a lot of things into perspective and it's a practical guide. But the good thing about this one was, what I liked about it is, they did a bit of myth busting. So they said, you know, these are the kind of things people are saying about social media. The first one over there, it's what Twitter's just about people saying what they had for breakfast. When I read that, I fell off my chair. That actually happened to me. I'm on an executive hookup. You know, we've got about 15 execs on the phone. Here I am trying to promote social media and telling them about Twitter, how really good it is for our people, our staff to get involved in it. The comment comes down the line from one of the other execs. So tell me, Con, what's Britney Spears having for breakfast today? And I thought, I don't think they're getting it. I don't think, and that's what the perception is out there. That's the myth that's out there. And these are people who are leading HR, leading L&D in organisations. These are people that probably are your bosses, the people that are directing what you need to be doing. We need to get out there and get involved and show them the benefits of it. It doesn't apply to me. This is another good one. If you don't, there's a risk if you don't get involved, because this is going to be the new world. This is the way people are going to connect, communicate, interact. is just for the younger generation. We always hear that, we always see all the young people. Yeah, it's true. Most of them, they're probably at school today, were born with the internet as part of their lives. I mean, none of them grew up like I did with a Commodore 64 or an Atari or those little systems. They were great systems. Then Ham goes, that's all it did. And I loved it. But then you got Warcraft and Combat of Duty and all those other things my kids are playing. I just say no. Anyway, that's where we are. But it's not just for the younger generation. I really love the comment down the bottom. You can always teach an old dog new tweets. I love that. That's a killer. Okay, just give you a bit of a snapshot. This is what happens on social media, 60 seconds. It's an amazing stats here when we think about it. The number of people that are doing things like LinkedIn. We've got things like, where are we? I'm just going to show iTunes, 15K songs downloaded. We've got on Instagram, 67,000 photos uploaded. This happens in a minute. It's massive, and 433,000 tweets in a minute. Like the guy says in the middle, enjoy digitally responsibly. It is just, it's out there, and it's massive. But this is where the crunch, this is the good part about it. Social media is about the technology. Social learning is participating with others. We're social learning here the last couple of days. We're interacting, we're communicating. And let me tell you, face-to-face training will never die. Now, we need to blend it, we need to change it. Human beings need to interact. We are beings. We are social species. Interaction is key to who we are. But the best part about it is they work together. And that's from Marsha Connor in the New Social Learning book. Really good book. And they've got a new edition just came out, New Social Learning 2. It's not new. Social media is not new. Like I said, it's been around for 10 years. Social learning is not new. We've been doing it here for the last couple of days. We do it at work. But what is new is the way they've converged, the way they've come together. Okay, Todra LMS did a bit of expert interviews recently, and they interviewed me around social learning, and that's what the key thing that I was focusing on was new technologies open up great opportunities. It's being aware of what those technologies are, and then how you want to use them. And like Elliot said too, there's so much out there. You need to find the one that suits your needs and how you can use that to meet what you want to get out of it. All right, the tools. All right, this is the crunch. Now, I'm probably speaking, who's on Twitter here? Good. Who uses it actively? Okay, good. That's it. That's the other thing. All right. So, look, based on the table that I was sitting at and based on other conversations, some people were keen to know a little bit more about Twitter. So what I'm going to try to do is, hopefully if our system allows me to, I'll try to get on live on Twitter and just show you a little bit about Twitter that maybe, but basically that's what it's, an online social networking service. The good thing about Twitter, and those people that really talk a lot and you can't stop them, they've only got 140 characters. So they can't go on and on and on. So they can actually get limited to what they can say. Geez, can we go on the iPad, guys, please? All right. That's me on social media. Get my glasses. Okay. 2,000, what have I got? 2,570 followers. And my first tweet was to Mr. Nigel Payne. Oh, where is he now? There it is. Does it come up? There it is. That's how far Nigel and I go back. Nigel said, I just voted for this photo, and I wrote to him, I was at a conference. Hi, Nigel, at LearnX conference in Sydney. I'm new to this Twitter stuff, but we'll try and keep you updated. That was in 2010. And that's a good site to go to. If you're ever on Twitter, I love this site. Discover Twitter, your first tweet, and you really go there, you can find after a number of years, you can find what did I tweet that first time? Yeah, so that's it. So that was my first tweet, and from there, I just went on and on and on. But the most important part here about Twitter, let me just, okay, what you do is you go twitter.com, it asks you to sign up, you do a bit of a bio yourself. I could probably sit there and explain all that. But the beauty of Twitter, and we talk about curation later on, is that it's who you follow. So how do you start, who do you follow? Well, you find Nigel, you find Con, you find other people that you know, and you start following them on Twitter. And via them, you'll see what they're tweeting, who they're following, and you start building up a personal learning network, and we'll talk about that soon too. But the other thing I like about Twitter, and it's got a very powerful feature, which is around, if I can find it, it's the, because I use a third-party app, so let me just see if I can find the list feature. Here it is. No. Where is it? Discover. There it is. So it tells you also, based on who to follow, the trends that are happening in activity. There you are. The most powerful thing I found with Twitter is your lists. You actually create lists of people. So I'm subscribed to some lists, and I've also got my own list there, learning professionals. These are the people that I get the most value off. I've got a lot of people that follow me and I follow them. There'd be sporting tweets, there's social tweeting, there's a myriad of things. But the people that I want to focus on, every morning when I get up, and trust me, I do it before I even get in the shower, I'll get up, I look at my Twitter feed every morning just to see what I can catch up on. I've got a lot of UK friends and colleagues that I follow, a lot of USA guys, so I want to see what they're talking about overnight. So these are kind of the people that I follow. So I get to see what they're doing, what they're focusing on, and so forth. And the beauty of Twitter, again, you get links to a blog. I'll take you to some resource. I don't Google much these days. I really don't. I go on Twitter. Twitter's my first point of call. I want something, I need some help, I'll write a tweet out there, guys, I'm looking to develop a new strategy on so-and-so, anyone got any experience? Within a matter of, could be minutes, could be a couple of hours, I'll get a response. Have a look at this blog, Con. We did something similar here. Talk to blah, talk to so-and-so. It is just a powerful sort of resource you can have access to. But like I said, the power of Twitter is it's in its lists. I really like the lists and the way you can actually curate and look at people you want to follow. Like I said, I can go into a myriad of other features around Twitter. You can actually start following. You can, if you find something you like, you can favourite. And favourite's a bit like a bookmark. So let's say I enjoy, let's say here's Andrew Jacobs. Andrew Jacobs there. I click on that particular tweet. I can see, so there's a little button there. These buttons here. That one there is your favourite, which is like your bookmark. So actually, if you favourite, it'll go to your favourites. You can refer to it later on. That one there is a retweet. Retweet means you like it so much, you want to share it with your people, with your followers. So you retweet it, and that there is a reply button, like you do in an email. Just want to reply to Andrew, say, thanks for the mention, Andrew. Really appreciate it. Great resource. Thanks for sharing. And there's other little features there too. But they're the key features that Twitter utilises. If you can master those, you're doing very, very well. If you can master lists, you're doing even better, because once you've honed in who you want to follow and who you find a key to your development and then you will get a lot of information that's going to be so useful to you. Okay, so that's a bit about Twitter. So hopefully I've given you a bit of a summary, a bit of a rundown. Hopefully I'll have some time at the end for some questions. Does anyone have anything specifically at this stage about Twitter they want to ask? Oh, yes.
So I guess my question is kind of, who do you mean when you say we? Because most people aren't even social yet.
Okay. Has a group of people that we had we're moving away from the digital 4Cs is about the curation, the connection and all. So it's about moving away from what you currently do to the new environment, or the digital environment, where you're curating, you're connecting, you're interacting, and it's about the culture of the online environment too.
So we're still doing the 4Cs, you just mean in a different...
Yeah, different way, yes,
platform.
yeah. The old 4Cs, and now it's the new 4Cs, yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you can have a book too. I'm going to throw it over, is it all right? Catch. Oops. Sorry. Okay, so let's just move right along quickly. Have I got a bunch of time? We've got Clinton there. We've got... Okay. Oh, good. Jane Hart, a legend in L&D. If you want to know who you want to follow, you look at where you want to start, you go to Jane Hart's site, and Jane Hart in the Centre for Learning Performance Technologies has got a follow. I'm down here at about 97, but so I'm not up there yet, but I think Nigel's up here somewhere. You should be at the top there, Nigel. Anyway. So there is a list of people you can start following and start honing in on. And there's we talked about Harold Jacquet. He's there. He's higher up. And I think Jane Bates followers and that sort of basis. And it's a bit of a ranking. But a really good site to start with to see. But Jane Hart's site is really good. And Jane Hart also wrote the Social Learning Handbook 2014. There's a new version that's coming out now too. Again, I'm not here to sell Jane Hart's book. I haven't got any books with me to sell. But this is also a good book. You want to get into social learning. She's got a new one coming out, but Social Learning Handbook 2014. So that's if you want to know where to start with who to follow and you just want to get an idea. Or just follow me or Nigel and you get heaps of more. Now, the other thing about Twitter, there's chats. In Twitter chats, it's an online conversation that is filtered by a hashtag. So the hashtag meaning the pound sign, that's what the Americans call it, the pound sign. The hashtag and the name of that conversation. They happen all over the world, and I'm proud to say mine is listed there. eLearn, I'm the founder and convener of the eLearn chat that happens every second Tuesday of the month at 8 o'clock Australian time. And the beauty of our chat is I get guest speakers to write a blog, and we use that blog as an inspiration and a conversation starter. Nigel's done one for me. I've had Charles Jennings. Recently we had Paul Matthews from People Alchemy in the UK. So what we do there is just go on, we have a conversation about a particular topic. But the beauty of the chats are, even if you can't make the chats, you can actually get access to them, and a lot of them storify them, what they call archiving them. So what that means is you're part of the conversation, but you missed out, and I know I'm trying to get more New Zealand people on my eLearn, but it's about 10 p.m. I know New Zealanders go to bed early. So what we do is we storify it, so therefore you can always refer to it later on if you missed out on something, and also interact with other people on it. I've created an eLearn Twitter account. I believe eLearn, even though I run it, I believe eLearn needs its own identity. So I've created a Twitter account for it. We've got 748. Not bad for something that's been going on about 18 months. I think I'm pretty happy with the way we're going and the way it's progressing. And when I say I'm pretty happy, it's because I really want to give back. And the reason I created eLearn was I was sitting in my desk one day on a Friday. I was trying to participate on Learn Chat, which is the USA equivalent. And that happened in the middle of the day. And I thought, geez, I'm here. I've got a paper to present. I've got a meeting to go to. And I can't get on this chat. I said, we need something for our region. So I decided to put it out there and see who was interested. And I got a massive response. So we created eLearn with a couple other, with Helen Blunden and Matt Guyon and Tanya Lau in Australia. And we just got on there and we started putting it out. And we said, okay, most chats happen every week. Let's make ours every month, give people a bit of time. So we created eLearn, doing very well. And it's also got its own link. If I can press this. Where is it? There it is. Yep. Nope, it's not working. No, it's not going. Yep, oops, went too far. It's also got its own LinkedIn. This is where we put all our stories. So the last one we had Paul Matthews. So we've got a storify there, which you can go there and read all the tweets that have come through from that particular chat. And what we're talking about storify, storify is a very good use. So for example, we have eLearNZ as a hashtag here. You can go back, go on storify, create an account, and just say, I want to pick up all the tweets that come through from this particular hashtag, and you'll get a whole list of them. And then you can start reading them, filtering out, and you can start taking some out. And then once you've filtered them out and curated them, you've got a whole story of the tweets that have come out of the particular conference you've gone to. I love back channel conferences. I sit on the back channels till 2 a.m. sometimes following Nigel and his Learning Live conferences and other conferences. I love the back channel. And in fact, Nigel made a good comment the other day, which I was at the Learning Technology Summerfest, and he says, he's doing a Google Hangout, and he goes, I don't know who's watching this, but I know there's one guy watching out there, and that's Con. And Con, welcome. So that was a really good, because he knew me well. He knew that I'll be on there. So that's storify. Like I said, I'm just going through these quickly. We're very privileged to have Rachel Teasdale here from from Kinyo, which was in around May, that she did one on storytelling. If you want to know about storytelling, you either talk to Rachel personally or you read that Storify. It's really good, a lot of conversation, a lot of resources were shared. Really good, how storytelling is very powerful in the learning environment. Really good chat. And we thank Kinyo and Rachel for participating in that. The conference back channel, my favourite. And just for you lovely people here today, I created one for us here. And if you go in the site, there's a particular site called Eventifier, EVENTIFIER.com. You can create a back channel for yourself to follow a particular conference. The free plan gives you 15 days access. All you got to do is put in some details, who the organisers are, what are the hashtags, and it does it all for you. And what I love this site is, it tells you which are the most popular tweets. So Rustica's there is very popular. And then it also categorises all the other information for you. So where are we? That's that one there, is it? No, that's that one. There it is. Whoops. Can you go live on the iPad, guys, please? If I can get up. Yeah, I'm just trying to get it up, guys. But the beauty of this Eventify is it allows you to curate a back channel, then go back and see, once I get it up and running. The internet's a bit slow here. And maybe this one will work. What I like about also this is it gives you a live wall. So if you're at a conference and your conference organiser is happy to work with you, what they do is they get a big projector and they stream this on the big screen, and they call it a live wall, so all the tweets that are coming through come through in an active feed. So you can have a cup of coffee, you can be mingling with the other delegates, so you can be seeing what people are tweeting about the conference. So they just come through as a feed. But the thing, if I can just reload this. Sorry about this, the internet's a bit slow here. So, popular one, but also what this site does, which I really like, is it even brings all the photos in separately for you. So remember, what's on Twitter stays on Twitter. So you might see some photos here from last night. So there we are, Captain Stubing and Pirate Jack Sparrow. So they're the kind of thing, but that's what I like about what Eventify does. But also it brings in, if people have posted a blog, so I can look at particular blogs. So there we go, we've got the first one there, the 9th degree, the cost of eLearn. That's our friend Nigel Young. So that blog must have got mentioned somewhere in a tweet, it's picked it up and put it up there. So really what I like about this site is it does it so well. And even better, it gives you some analytics and tells you who's your best tweeter, who's your best contributor, who's the star of the show. And you can see there, currently we've got 91 tweets from Nigel Young, who's a star. It tells you some stats too, how many tweets are coming in, as long as everyone is using that hashtag eLearNZ. And that's the, well, you need to get into the habit, when you're tweeting, you need to allow for that, couple of characters to use that hashtag, and then it just opens up amazingly. We can see all the tweets coming in, all the information, you can get all the stuff you need. So, and down the bottom of this, it tells you, I love this part, how many people are using, how many are original, how many are mentioned. How it does a question the guys about, and there it tells you Apple downloads them in a CSV file, and you know about CSV files, it just dumps into an Excel spreadsheet with just tweets. It doesn't pick up the photos and all that. But if you want to have a bit of a rundown in an Excel file, you can get the tweets out of that. The free plan, like I said, 15 days. If you want to pay for it, I've never paid for it because I get enough out of it for 15 days. I'll go in there, like I'll go back tomorrow, the next day back home. I'll go on this site, see some of the good tweets that have come through. I'll copy them across. I've got a bit of a rundown. And people say to me, why do you tweet from a conference? Well, I don't note take anymore at a conference. I tweet. And when I tweet, I capture the moments I want to capture. And then I look what other people are tweeting, and I create my conference notes. So back to work, they say, how was the conference? I say, yep, I'll tell you. Here it is, bang. This person talked about this, they referred to this, we should need to look at this. They go, wow, that's amazing. All that note taking, I said, no, I just tweeted. You tweet, you get back. And that's the thing about Twitter. What you give out, you'll get back. 10 minutes? All right, thanks, mate. I'll just go quickly. Okay, the other really good thing we just talked about is, and Nigel talked about it, was the Learning Now TV. It's quality produced. Nigel's the host. It's got some great presenters. It's worldwide. And sometimes we say about free, we think, oh, it must be free. It's not great. This is quality program. If you just play the clip quickly, guys, I've got a little clip here of a trailer they did a while ago, just to see the quality of the program. You recognise that man? Anyway, we might stop there because it's a bit choppy, guys. That's all right. But it's free to join. eLearNZ TV. Subscribe to it. Every month it's broadcast. Now it's broadcast at 8 p.m. UK time. But if you subscribe, you get to see the whole program in a replay. It's amazing. It's a really good program. Great quality production, professional production, great speakers. Now, we talked about your brand, quickly. This is the most important part about what we're talking about social media. It's all about you. It's your brand. We saw with LinkedIn, and Ali talked a bit about LinkedIn, about how that promotes your brand and who you are. And that's my LinkedIn profile. I'll just go quickly through that. But I wanted to show you, and blogging is also another way. Who blogs here? Well done, well done. Look, I don't blog as much. Probably should do more blogging, but blogging is a great way to get stuff out there. And it's also a great way to work out loud. And that's something we should all be doing a lot more, working out loud, talking about what we're doing, how we're doing it, and getting other people responding and providing input, suggestions, comments. I think blogging is something that a lot more people can and should be doing. And remember this, I don't think you've got something to share, but you do. We've all got experiences. We've all got something unique that we can share. Just a matter of getting some confidence and putting it out there. There's from a different perspective. I like to challenge things. You would have heard me yesterday around MOOCs. I'm a bit of a skeptic around MOOCs, but I like to challenge. A bit like Elliot, I like to disrupt sometimes and sort of see what other people are saying about it. So I'm not into the MOOC too much. I like, Kirkpatrick. I think the guy's passed away. And maybe it's time we buried him as a model too. I don't know, that's me. That's just my personal perspective. So when you go to my blog, you'll see me challenging things. I'm nice, I'm kind, but I'm not always moving with the crowd. I try to be a bit more different and say, well, okay, what are we doing about this? Let's challenge this, let's challenge that. And that's the beauty of blogging. You can be yourself. Now, about me. Who's seen about me? No one. Now, if you want to put a brand up, this is a good place to start. About.me, go on there. The beauty of this, it picks up, you don't have to do much intervention. It picks up all your profile from your Twitter profile. So if you set up Twitter, you link it to your Twitter, all the stuff that's on there is picked up from my Twitter profile. You do some little manual intervention and away you go. About.me. But the one that I like even better than that, this is a ripper. Branded.me. This is good. This creates a whole website of yourself. And this picks up everything from LinkedIn. Your bio, your experience, education. So, you've got to pay for it, but if you don't want to pay for it, you get this other background here that's a bit average. That's okay. But it's also even got things like a contact point, like a website. People can leave you a message, contact you, and then it goes back to your email. Free. It's all out there. If you want to create a brand of who you are and what you're doing, this is a great way to do it. I recommend this site highly. Lastly, quickly, I'm going to finish quickly here. Personal learning networks. We've talked about brand, we've talked about social media, but it's your personal learning network that's going to really help you move on and do things you want to do. I did a word on personal learning network. Look at the things that come up. Conversations, connection, advice, collaboration. PLNs are the new thing in social media. Having a personal network you can rely on, you can go to. Like I said before, I don't Google, I tweet. That's, for me, has made a big difference. Quickly, this is a really good site. The link's at the bottom. Don't be afraid to explore. Search, follow some people. But at the same time, cull some people. If you're finding people aren't giving you what you want and you're not getting much out of them, cull them. There's nothing wrong with that. We're all used to it. Don't be afraid to unfollow someone or drop someone. Then, feed your network. Always feed it. Always give it something. The more you feed it, it's a bit like the plant. The more you feed it, the more you'll get back out of it. Engage. Be connected. Engage. Talk about, if someone says, oh, I went to a party the other night with my sister and my mother. Yeah, what a great time. Did you have a good time? Even just that social engagement creates that connection. Inquire. I'm working on a strategy at the moment around, anyone else help me? Oh, I don't know where to start. People will respond. But it's also incumbent on you to respond too when people have similar questions. That's how you cultivate a personal network. And when you cultivate your personal network, again, I've used this word before, a whole new world would open up in front of you. Look, Ali covered a lot of this, but I'll just go quickly. Curation. So you've got your network. We talked about feeding it. We talked about inquiring with it. But it's curation is where you're going to get the value out of it. Quickly, that's a great graphic. Get information off the internet is like talking, drinking from a fire hydrant. Don't we all feel that? And Ali talked about that. Don't we all feel that way? What a wave. I love this. This is really good. And the site will be this is the 4 types of, and Ali talked about this. Aggregation, that's where you just bring some sites together, some information, you say, here we are, guys, take it. No. Yeah, it's good, it's curation, but not great. Distillation, that's where you actually take some content and you do some analysis on it. You refine it. Elevation. Ali talked about that where you rank it. That restaurant analogy where you... So you say, okay, I've ranked people on Twitter or I've ranked blogs that I like. So you elevate them in some way or other. Mashups. You bring things together and you create your own view. That's curation too, where you bring a few views and opinions and then you say, well, this is mine. And the last one, the traditional chronological one, which is around date, time, and this is the ones they are. So I'll just quickly, no, what's happened there? Nothing? They've taken me off. I'll give you some quick other good sites. There's one here, scoop.it, traditional one, does the job. Again, you go in there, create your profile, start following some people, a good curation site. But the one I found recently, which I really like, and I suggest you get on it, right relevance. I don't know how, this is an amazing site. I just come across it recently. rightrelevance.com. It picks up your Twitter profile, you put in your Twitter profile, and it'll give you top articles, people that are influencers in the field based on your topics. And my topics in there, which I've expanded, are things like learning, social learning, evaluation, learning impact, and so forth. rightrelevance.com. Really good site for curation based on your needs. When you want to keep something and you want to refer to it later on, like Ali had said before, you want to keep it, you want later. You want a later button? I use a thing called Digo, or Digo, whatever you want. Digo, you use this, Nigel? You ever use it? No, Digo. Digo is really good. Once you find a site, and you can get it, I use Chrome, so there's a Chrome extension. I just click on that and I save it and it goes into my Digo library. The beauty of this is you can share this with your friends. So you can have a library in your own organisation of content around leadership. You can put it out there to your organisation via an intranet and stuff as a learning link, and they will get to that particular site. Okay, done. That's it. That's the last slide if you want to load back content curation. Quickly, what I want to leave you with now is get in there, dive in, start sharing. What are you waiting for?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks. Just get it away. Oops, sorry.
Thanks very much, Con. That was excellent. Like trying to drink from a fire hydrant. Okay, our next presenter is Tina Griffin, and she is from Kineo, and she's talking about navigating the onboarding journey, a blended approach. Tina has been with Kineo since 2009 as Manager of Learning Solutions, and she is passionate about e-learning and being innovative and coming up with innovative solutions. In a you see who found her calling for e-learning and communicating with people and imparting learning to people through innovation. You will see that passion come through in this performance. Also, she talked about Elliot Maisie being her guru and having attended in person some of the international e-learning conferences and having met people like Bill Clinton, and until recently being quite proud of meeting Bill Cosby as well, but I don't know who you share that with these days. Apparently Elliot's saying, oh, I knew that guy was dodgy. Anyway, look, be that as it may, we'll have our own opinions on that, and who am I to judge? But look, Elliot Maisie came across certainly as a guru. One of his students is with us today. Please help me welcome Tina Griffin.
Just let me do some magic on here. Find a cable.
That's the one you had before.
Do you think that's the one? Okay, we'll go with this. 1 minute, please. Plug it in the right hole. Okay. Yay. Ha. Great when a plan comes together. Right, let me just have a look what's going. Okay, great. So I was watching with great, I might probably stand over here actually. Can everyone hear me all right? Good. Listening with great interest yesterday, mulling my presentation, and what I heard yesterday were some pretty amazing innovations and thinking about the future and what technology is going to do to change the landscape of what we're doing. And I was very inspired and interested, and I went, I'm talking about onboarding and blended. And I thought, well, you guys are doing that already, aren't you? Show of hands, who's got an onboarding program? Induction, onboarding? Yep. So you're doing it. Who's doing blended? Okay, so you guys are doing it. See, what's the point of talking about this today at a technology-based conference? And I guess what I want to reflect is what I've seen in some of the work that we're doing with our clients at the moment. And I think what that is has been a fairly big transformation in terms of what we're doing around blended. And I'd say that transformation has happened probably in the last 2 to 3 years. So by transformation, I mean the nature of the blend that organisations that we've seen are doing are incredibly more complex. There's a lot more to them. They're going on over a much longer period of time. There's a real richness to the type of activities that are going on. And really interesting to talk to one of my colleagues in the UK around where the UK is at with blended learning. And again, they look to New Zealand to say, actually, we've been leapfrogging. For some reason, we've done a kind of transformation a little bit quicker and maybe we're a little bit nimbler. But certainly, they're looking to us as some of the best practice. So we should on the back for that. So I was asking myself the question, yes, am I here? What do I think I can bring and why is that happening? Okay, what is making this transformation happening? So I think there are a couple of reasons. So I think the first one is 70-20-10. Okay, not a new model. That's been around for some time. Guess you're all kind of familiar with the idea of 10% of classroom and structured and 20% in coaching and support and 70% of that stuff that has to happen on the job, and it's the most important stuff, right? No, it's not new. I think what's happened over the last couple of years is we've suddenly worked out how 70% can come into our framework for blends. So before, we used to let that just happen over there. Now, I think we've figured it out. We've figured out what we can do with the 70%. So how we can bring some structure and something into our frameworks and actually start tracking that and looking at that as a real learning activity as part of our blends. So I think that's been changing things. I think the second thing is technology, and that's probably why we're all here today. So technology in a couple of ways. I think learning management systems in terms of portals and places to track are really transforming what we can do. So again, we're thinking about these much more complex blends that are going on over a long period of time. Now that's quite a lot to track manually or through an intranet and gather kind of data. So I think what a learning management system is doing is allowing the ease of that. And so it's taking some of that pain away, and we're not quite so scared of having so many artifacts going on around a blend. And then the second side is the gadgets, and we've talked lots about the gadgets and what the gadgets can bring. But really what we've got now are content creation devices. We've got guides, we've got things that can kind of take us out into our organisation to do activities. Thinking about assessment and what we can capture in content creation and how that forms part of a blend. So I think those two things are kind of changing the landscape. So I thought today we'll just kind of talk through, I guess, some of the challenges. Why hasn't blended learning? A lot of some of you have been on the website, and there's plenty of the reports down the back, and have been looking at that topic, and have sort of come up, I guess, with some reflections on some of the key things that they're seeing that are making really good blends work. So, on to setting sail, because we are in nautical theme. And I thought when we're talking about onboarding, it's a time to just reflect on our first experience of onboarding. So I want you to take a minute, close your eyes and cast your mind back, and for some it might have to go quite a long way back, some more recently back, thinking about your first job. Okay, that first day of your first job. And some of you may have had subsequent first days or first jobs. Okay, and what I want you to think about is what the feeling was. Okay, what's going on those first days? So, shout me out some words. What is that in here, in your gut? What's going on? Say again? Bewildered. Okay, great. Excited. Well, we hope. What? Anxiety. So anxious, but we're excited, pretty happy. So again, those are all emotions, okay? Great time for us to be kind of gathering, and that's the kind of emotion that we want to run with. So I was reflecting on my first day, first job. Again, all of those emotions there. And my first day, I was very excited. I was being Auckland, and I thought, business trip, wow, this is amazing, you know, got to stay in a hotel, 2-week training course, right? Front load everything they could into this brain so that I could go back and do an audit when I was back in the office. And that happened pretty quickly, pretty much after my 2 weeks, didn't much see my desk, touchdown, straight into it, drowning. Okay, hard, lots of coaching, you know, lots of, no, you're not doing it right, okay? That was the experience. Didn't see my manager really, maybe for 6 months. Okay, that was then. This is now. We know lots more about what a good onboarding should be. And so I imagine a number of you had a similar experience. Maybe it's more training, maybe it was less training, maybe it was no training at all, but pretty much that idea of something, and usually something front and then getting perhaps the essence of a great onboarding experience. And I thought, I was trying to be creative, and I thought of a song. Now, so I'm going to do a little bit of an onboard okie, and I'm going to need your help for this. So, it'll be a song that you'll all know. I've changed a few of the words to fit my purposes, but I'm going to need your help, so I would like everybody on your feet, please. with your best singing voices. Hopefully you will all know, so please sing along. You're going to be onboarding me, okay? So some feeling and some emotion into this, okay? So if technology goes my way, we hear some sound. I can hear it through my speakers. Oh. New job.
Exciting and new. Come aboard. We're expecting you and love. Life's sweetest reward. Let it flow. It floats back to you.
Okay, ready? Belt it out now.
Soon we'll be making another run.
Okay.
The love boat
Not feeling it.
promises something for everyone. Set a course for adventure, your mind on a new romance.
Okay, advance.
Won't hurt anymore. It's an open smile on a friendly shore.
Okay, big finish now. Beautiful. All right, you can sit down now. Sorry about the sound, but you'd make good. Now, wouldn't it be lovely if we arrived into our new jobs and that was playing? So, in all seriousness, take a kind of look at what was in there. So, firstly, you were waiting for me, okay? Waiting, ready. My manager wasn't leaving me at reception for 20 minutes because they were in a meeting. Okay, and you told me about what was expected in my job. You know, it was going to be hard work, but I'd get the rewards. And you talked about my development, okay, that I was going to get skills, I was going to get learning. Okay, all of these things are making me really excited, and my manager was there with warm and open arms, okay, welcoming me. But more importantly, I felt happy and I felt engaged. I was really excited, so building on the excitement of my job. So what we do know is onboarding is serious business, okay? We understand the statistics about if we get kind of on and if we get our blends right, we're going to increase retention. We know if we can retain our people, that reduces the costs of the recruitment. And we know that if we retain our people, we're going to have good performance out of them, okay? That is a no-brainer. But the reality is a little bit different. So again, let me ask this question. I don't know if any of you know this kind of stats. It's a global statistic. But, you know, what percentage of people do you think are leaving their jobs in the first year, within a year? Shout out a number, percentage. 30, 20, 60, higher, lower than 60 and 20, 10, 43, oh my God, you know, could be anywhere, okay? Interestingly, 1 in 3, 33%. That is quite eye. But if we drill down on that and we say, what percentage are leaving within 6 weeks? Okay, so we've got 33%. Higher, lower? Oh, it can't be higher, lower. How lower? 10%? 5%? You're very optimistic, you. 22%! Oh! So work that through, and all of you, I've spoken to a number of you who are really busy and finding recruitment hard, and we know that skills are really hard to find. We know that that recruitment round is cut 2.5 months. From actually, I need somebody today, 2.5 months to finding you new talent. So that is a very big cost, very, very big cost. So it is something we need to take seriously. So, at the heart of it, what is going wrong? We know onboarding's important, we know that the blends are right, so what are we not doing? Okay, so a couple of things, and I'll unpick each of these. So what we're doing is we're overloading the boat. Think of the little boat, you put too much stuff on one end, it's tipping it up. So what we're doing is doing a lot of front loading. We're rushing to get people on board because, you know, we want them up and working. We're not necessarily giving them what they want and when they want. And we're not supporting our captains, or who will be our managers. Okay, so take a look at this. Hopefully you can read it. Is this what happens? I've just started my new job. My husband says to me, "Darling, how was your first day?" And I reply, "The place is great. I'm really compliant and I'm well on my way to memorizing lots of processes and procedures, and I'm looking forward to implementing those as soon as I have some context." It's funny because it's true. Okay, again, what are we doing? Why is this happening? Organisations are overwhelmed by all the stuff they need to download because they want those people out. We've waited 2.5 months for this person to come on board. So the quicker we train them, the quicker we can get them doing productive work. But actually, remember the song and remember those feelings. Okay, actually, what we learners want on our first day is this. People have been friendly. You know, I really like the feel of it. These are emotive words. These are nothing to do with content and what the organisational values are. I can ask questions. So I have support and I have a manager. Think about all of those songs. You know, that's quite a contrast to what my organisation wants. And so thinking about it in this way, we've got two conflicting viewpoints here. So on one side, we've got me, the learner. And actually, what's my little hierarchy of needs? Actually, right at the heart there is connection and belonging. Okay? It is not, do I have the technical skills to do everything, but will I weigh out the job set? Think about this at the heart of your learning. How does that change what you're delivering to people up front? Quite a different way. Contrast that with what our organisations want. And what do they want? Fast, quickly, get them trained, get them moving through. We need them competent and compliant. Okay? And that's why for many of you kind of in the compliance space, you know you need to tick some boxes, you've done their training, you need to, oh, are we going to have guns? Alerts. Okay, no, that's to the guns. So, again, we've got a bit of a dichotomy. And what we're doing with all of that is not leading to me and my emotion and my connection. We're leading to a whole lot of content. You know, we're pushing out acres and acres of stuff that we think our learners need because we think it's more efficient that way. Again, we've been waiting and we want our people to get trained up pretty quickly. And then the other mistake is really kind of overlooking our managers. So they're going to see blended learning in anything that's like, hey, look, all that on-job stuff, and you've got to do all these things, and here are your checklists, and you've got to do this stuff, and it's going to go on for months. They're like, whoa, too much. So again, one of the things that means onboarding and blends are failing is not really giving our managers some life support. And actually thinking about them, 70% on the job, that relies on our managers to be able to do what they need to do. So we need to be thinking really clearly about how we support. Okay, so, you know, doom and gloom, however, there is help at hand. So what works? Okay, again, quick snapshot and I'll talk through each of these. Breaking up the journey, I'm a big fan of this. Think about pretty much a number, I will pluck a number out, 90 days. People talk a lot about onboarding in the first 90 days. 90 days is a long time. Okay, there is a lot that can happen over 90 days. So, thinking about a blend that's going to go over a long period of time, breaking that up into some smaller chunks in that journey. Running a campaign, so I'll talk a little bit about the thinking around how campaigns can help our blended starting before day one, not a new concept, but worth reminding yourself again about what you need to do. Human connections, and again, that's where I started, connecting with people. People don't join a corporate entity, they join a group of people, they join a team. And so it's really important that you think about how you're going to connect your new learner with their teams and people. Providing a map, giving people a sense of direction, building the brand into everything that you're doing and telling your own brand story and your organisation's brand, supporting your managers, and tailoring. Okay, so again, let me ask this question of you. Think about these two questions. Number one is, how long is your onboarding journey? And I expect that to be quite different for each of you. And how do you describe the end point? And that may be a little bit harder. How do you know when somebody has been onboarded? Is it suddenly that day 91, they're onboarded? Okay, so just take a minute or two, chat to somebody next to you and see how different are your answers around that. Yes? I'm good. It's all good. All right. I hate to stop. I feel like you could probably discuss this for a next hour. So maybe it's a lunchtime conversation. Now, was that a difficult conversation, particularly question 2? Was that hard to articulate? Yep. Does anybody want to share a kind of what their endpoint looked like? Everyone got a good soundbite? Great. Okay, great, and good discussion. So, is it about feeling confident, or feeling good, or is it about competence? Okay. Any other thoughts anybody had? We'll have one more.
Firstly, we used the PO's research to play.
Okay, great.
Just relaunched our onboarding program.
Cool.
So we, based on your research, track the speed to competency. So let's say day 90, you're meeting expectations.
Yep.
But good onboarding is also track the emotional journey. So do they feel like they're adding value?
Yeah.
Do they feel like they're a member of the Omar Health community? So
Yeah.
we put in 2 measures there based on.
Nice, I like that. So the emotional journey, and I think if you can take something away, I think that's a great point, thinking about the emotional journey. And look, there is no right answer, there's no right length. Different roles are going to take different things. I've had a client who takes 2 years, as part of that onboarding, because it's quite a complex role. So again, what do we do with that? That is sometimes a long period of time. And again, what I recommend is thinking about that period and breaking it down and aligning some goals to each of those. So I think the points that came out there, maybe feeling really good is a good day 1 goal. At the end of day 1, maybe we just kind of feel great about it. And maybe somewhere at the end of the journey is some competence. Or maybe you're going to break up how that competence is going to appear. So by breaking down our journey, we can also break down the types of activities. So we want to have different things going on at each of those stops. So again, think you can punctuate that journey, and that's going to be very unique to each of your organisations. And aligning those goals, figuring out, and that's often very hard to articulate. And I think, again, in my experience, that's about going out to your business leaders and your managers saying, well, you know, when someone's ready, when they're onboarded, when they're competent, well, you know, what does that look like? What do they need to have done to be able to get there? And so what this looks like potentially in an online environment is something where we can kind of track a journey, those little chunks, and you can see a range of activities that support each of those steps. Now, this is no flashy model, purely out of my head, because I thought what a lot of people do is tend to focus on the e-learning and then maybe put up some other stuff or some reading or some, and that's it. So I think try to keep some breadth around what's in your blend. And look, I purely use this, no great thinking behind it, to try to compartmentalise and think about, have I got all the elements in my blend? So broadly at the top, I'm thinking about learning activities. So they may be classroom, they may be face-to-face, they may be coaching sessions, they might be online modules, simulations, animations, whatever that is, what type of activity. It might be a self-directed learning activity where I have to research something or go on a treasure hunt or whatever that is. I put in reading, and it was interesting, the discussion today from Elliot and around curation is there appears to be more and more stuff. We have a lot of artefacts within our organisations. And by reading, I'm talking about the stuff that we don't need to create in an e-learning module. Do I need an e-learning module that describes bullying and our bullying policy, when actually I've got a nice one-pager that describes our policy? And I'm talking about the policies, the procedures, the business processes, the standard operating procedures, whatever those are, those artefacts that are there, that really can complement what you're doing in your learning space. Connection is about a very broad range of connections. So it is about who are the people and the teams I need to connect with. What are the online forums? What are the mailing groups? What are the action learning, the peer groups? All of those kinds of connections within your organisation and possibly outside. So where can you connect people into? And then it's obviously the 70%. Huge amount sitting in there. So that's around what are those meaningful on-the-job activities, the shadowing, the experiences, the coaching, the activities, the for meals, the checklists that go. There's kind of a whole lot of rich stuff that's going to happen under there. And then supporting all of that, again, bearing in mind an assessment framework, an assessment that picks up prior learning, that is assessing how we're doing, that may be linked to certification and qualifications, and an evaluation of the program, and of course your personal development, because your blends in onboarding don't make sense if we're not integrating them with our personal development. So again, just a way for me to keep a track on what's going on. And so what does our Kineo onboarding journey look like? Well, I don't expect you to kind of read all of that, but again, a mix and a blend, a whole lot of different activities happening pre-week 1, day 1, week 1, weeks 2 to 4, weeks 4 to 8. So thinking about a 2-month onboarding. Different mix and different interventions coming at different times. Sometimes the more self-directed can come later, a little bit more of the face-to-face and the people interventions up front. And again, what we find, here's where the portals kind of come into their own. They're not only giving us that framework and giving us a way to navigate through all of this, a lot of artefacts going on, but they're giving us information about our progress. And by us, I mean the learner, my manager, and the organisation. Because again, you guys want some ROI, you want some data on which that you can report back and say, my blended program was really working. So another theme that we've seen, and we've talked about in some of the previous learning insights, is campaigns. And I guess campaigns in itself is talking about what can we take from marketing and communications into learning. Because what we do know is our learning has to compete. Okay, we're in a digital age and we need to compete to get people's attention. So, what is advertising at the heart of it? We're trying to be eye-catching. We're trying to do something. We spend a lot of time here. So, it's about doing something that's really different, that surprises people, that potentially makes them talk, creates some emotion. There it is again, okay? Personal emotion and connection. Keeps the messages alive. Okay, so campaigns talking about things that go multi-channel. Okay, it might be posters, it might be digital. And again, I've seen a lot of clients doing a fair amount in the digital space, creating animations out of a model. Seeing a little bit more around tangible things. So again, we have a lot in digital, but models, cubes, things, tangible. One with a client at the moment where we have a number of quick reference guides and they want to issue headphones because the organisation has never kind of reference guides and the headphones, it's there and it's a message and it's always making it visible to learners. So again, being creative and having that sits right across all of the things that you're doing and right across your journey. So again, we don't want to focus on the first 2 weeks. This is about a kind of longevity in what you're doing around your messaging. Okay, and again, not a new concept, but what can we do before we start? Okay, picking up on those feelings that you had before you started. Yes, you're a bit nervous, so anything that you can do to make you feel less nervous, but you're excited as well. So there is a window of opportunity. We can do something. This is a UK example where they've used an e-magazine, an e-zine, sending it out to learners to say, look, here's what your journey's going to be, giving them some guidance, showing them some of the things that are going to be in store. Okay, that's quite a serious type of approach. And again, what I've seen reflected here in New Zealand is often there are a lot of barriers to being able to do anything pre-day one. And some of those barriers are, I'm sorry, we can't give people access to our intranet before they start. We just can't do that. IT won't issue it. There are sometimes issues with paying people before they've actually started. There are sometimes issues with, can we assume that anyone has kind of a device to be able to run that sort of stuff? So those are constraints. That doesn't stop you because I think everyone will either have an email or they'll have a mailbox. Okay, so sometimes work with your constraints, but be creative about how you deliver. So I want to paint this idea because I think this is just so easy. This is a really easy win for you. Okay, take a photograph of your team, put the names of each of your team members on, have them huddled around you. This is your desk. Hi, I'm your manager. Hi, I'm John. I'm going to be working with you. Wouldn't it be great if your new employee comes in and they know the names of the teams? Radical idea. How about little video blogs that maybe could be sent out to people day by day? A little bit of a 30-second, hi, I'm Tina, and I'm really interested in world peace, and that kind of thing. So again, I've got a reason to connect. I have something, maybe I've got something in common with somebody that I'm working with. Okay, creating connections. Send an email if you can. Send an email, invite them in, provide some material on your learning, on your intranet. Okay, give people access. So this is all about human connections, making it human. So again, through your e-learning, building in aspects of stories, people as much as you can. Telling stories, real people and examples of what they do in their work. Or here another example of insights, and by insights I mean, warts and all. Sometimes it's good stuff and sometimes it's not so good stuff, and that's okay. Let's tell people about the reality of your organisation. And again, what we want to do is help create those relationships. So make sure some of those on-the-job activities, those things that you're doing in that onboarding journey, are connecting them to your buddies. And sometimes I think it's just to say, yeah, you've got a buddy, great, here, go to it. But sometimes it's actually about saying, well, why don't we take a step back? Why don't we introduce some structure to that? And maybe you organise and you diarise a couple of particular updates and check-ins with buddies, with mentors, with coaches, with managers, whoever that is. And if you have action learning groups, put people on email groups, get them connected, peer networks, invite people. And I thought, imagine you could do this before day one and you get an invite in 2 months' time, team day, away day, or invite them to the first Friday night drinks. So work out what's going on in your organisation and make people go, I'm part of the team now. I'm actually starting to get those emails. Quickest and again, easy top tip, new employee, send them an email going, hey, great, can't wait till you join. Okay, again, starting connections. And so again, looking at that learning management system, which can provide that map. Okay, it's a great way to show me where I'm up to, what have I done, what have I got coming up, because this is potentially a long period of time. And is any of the activity that I'm doing leading me towards a qualification? So often the two things are not mutually exclusive, it's just we happen to be doing this over here in an onboarding, but some of that is actually contributing to a wider qualification. So let's show people, let's give them the timeline. And again, think about rewarding. 90 days is a long time. Maybe after 30 days there is something. Use your system to send triggers to your manager saying, hey, this person's just completed their, first 30 days. Maybe there is some assessment in there. Great, you passed and well done. Okay, it's a great way for us to reward, our fast trackers and our talent. So why not recognise that and use the system to do that? And then brands. So again, if you think about joining an organisation, you have a perception of what their brand is and what it means. So this is about saying, think about your brand from an internal perspective and what you want to show your learners. And that's about getting a cohesive story. It's about telling your stories through everything you do. It's not about running that session on, you will now learn about our brand and our values. Okay? This is about actually weaving it through everything you do. And here's just a couple of examples. Again, different brands and different styles of travel companies, so everything has that feeling of travel and adventure. Or here in health services. And then, not to be forgotten, managers. And again, look, it's as long as a piece of string. It really depends organisationally where your managers are at, and only you can kind of judge that. It may be that some of your managers are going to need a bit of capability building to, be able to coach people effectively. It may be that you're providing a whole lot of tools for them, checklists, that they use on an iPad when they're in shadowing and coaching to provide feedback that pulls into their LMS. Okay, do they know how to do that? Do they feel comfortable using that? And actually asking the managers what they want, not necessarily what we want to give them. So, I had a client who went, those managers, not technology, give them hard copy. Like, okay, we can do that. There was an online version. I think maybe we had editable PDFs as the kind of compromise, but it could be done. You can have both, but ask your managers and tailor something that they're going to need. Cool. And then, final point really is choice and pathways. Now, again, takes a little bit of thinking up front. Compliance-based organisations, you've got some different decisions really, because there will be a whole lot of compulsory stuff. But providing people choice, allow them to browse. Actually, let us as L&D stand back a little bit and let people choose what's going to be important to them. Provide the journey, provide the map, here's what we recommend, But we know that people are going to learn in different ways. Just because I've set out a beautiful path for onboarding does not mean that that's going to happen. So allow them to skip steps and dip into what they need to. And importantly, people aren't coming in a sausage factory. We don't all come with the same skills and capabilities. So think about how you're going to deal with that. Why make somebody work through a whole lot of learning if actually they've got that and they're there? You know, this is about managing your talent and providing fast tracks for the people that are there. Allow people to go ahead. And in fact, I've got a really good example where we did this with a client, and there was a bit of resistance from managers and from staff. But by providing a program and a pathway, it actually got driven two ways. One, these learners were so keen, right? They saw their 2-year pathway and they went, right, going up to their managers going, hey, this, and you need to give me some opportunities to do this type of work, and I don't rate myself very well on this, and what can you do? And likewise, the manager was much more aware of what that learner was doing. So I think it does have a really positive play in that. So look, that was a very whistle-stop tour of hopefully giving you a few ideas around what you can do for your blended learning for onboarding. Again, this is a bit of an expansion on some of the Kineo reports, which are all available there. George is holding them up. If you haven't been, please feel free to take. There's some great stuff. There's blended on leadership, on compliance, a whole range of things. So please feel free to read more.
Thanks very much, Tina. We have a couple of minutes for questions. Is there any questions for Tina? Microphone, please, Mr. Yang.
So you're talking, well, we've talked about how obviously there are different learning speeds, you know, one size doesn't fit all and we need to kind of personalise and take our time and let them go off in the path that suits them. What are your thoughts? For example, a lot of our onboarding or inductions, we have bulk. So for example, I've just finished an induction with 17 people. So it's not always easy to let them kind of go off in a direction that suits them, although we'd love to make it personalised. I think that Cannon's about to go.
Cannon. Go on, talk fast. Oh no, you got to have the song and then you have the countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Sounds like
1.
Happy New Year! No. Oh, they're all disappointed. They're all ready for it.
Let's keep going regardless. I think it's right on.
Yeah.
Do I keep going?
So sorry, 17 people.
Yeah, we often have bulk inductions
Yep.
or onboarding, so that's their
Yep.
first kind of exposure to the company.
Yep.
So what are maybe your thoughts or some tips around trying to personalise as much as we can, but then keeping in mind we do have a big group of people that we have to get to a certain point?
Yeah, and so again, cohorts can kind of be quite a useful way of tracking a group, and often knew it's coming, still made me jump. Anyway. So, cohorts give you, I guess, some safety in numbers. There are some things, and sometimes more effectively in face-to-face, and that may be part of your blend. I think it's about finding the right balance. There is no one-size-fits-all. Again, you've got to see what's feasible. Remember, when I started very quickly, it happens into my first day. Well, it had a great impact if that happened on the first day, but I understand the logistics of being able to do that and run that. So you just kind of have to make some calls about where are those interventions, but you need to recognise we know that people don't all start neatly on one day and stuff happens. So thinking about what are some of your alternatives and playing with what you've got there, deconstruct it, go in a room, and be creative and stick your post-its up and change it up.
Was there one more?
Yeah, I've got the mic, but it was a very similar question. So we're quite motivated to have the recognition of prior learning and have really role-relevant learning. But I was just wondering, is there an opportunity there to have one-size-fits-one type of onboarding? I mean, it's like a lot of back-end work, but are any other of your, any customers that you're working with doing anything similar?
Yeah, look, not a huge amount, but what I have seen is often it's just done in a personal assessment space. So when I come in, who am I, my manager, how do they know, how can they assess me? Actually, they can't really assess me till I'm 3 months in. And so in some respects, doing a personal assessment of skills gives my manager a good idea of what I have. Again, allowing that journey, any of the deficiencies, if I lied, no, I'm brilliant at it, and then they give me the work to do and I can't do it, are going to become apparent if your model is right. So that's the way I've seen it done. Yes, you can build your beautiful assessments and would take some time to do that. It is possible, and again, thinking about even a piece of learning with the pre-assessment that allows you to skip actually if you've done it is quite a good way. Or let people go and do the assessments, okay? Don't make the learning compulsory. If they've got the skills and if all we need to do is tick the box, let them go there, because if they can demonstrate what we want, then that's great.
Cool. Thank you very much. Well done, Tina.
Brilliant.
Great session. Lunch is served. What I would say is the illustrations, I've noticed a lot of people taking photos of the illustrations, and it's a roadmap or a mind map of what's actually happened in that session. So fantastic work, Tapan, from Bloom. So avail yourself, look at those opportunity knocks. Well done.